What's up, everybody? I'm David Hain. Welcome to episode 202 of the A to D From Addict to Disciple podcast. If you enjoy this podcast, please like, subscribe, follow, and share the link with your friends. Or click on the support link in this episode's description. Your donation of any amount could change a life. If you'd like to get our curriculum, you can get the paperback or ebook of From Ashes to Destiny on Amazon. When we come back, we'll get into this episode entitled, Gather Your Glimmers. Welcome back to episode 202 of the A to D From Addict to Disciple podcast entitled, Gather Your Glimmers. Let me start out by saying I'm going to differentiate between triggers and glimmers because actually they're the exact opposite. So if you set that in your mind at the beginning, you'll be with us for the rest of the ride. Okay, so triggers, those are the things that bring up old feelings like flashbacks. They can transport us back into a traumatic event. They can get us upset or frightened or disappointed or shameful or guilty or all those crazy things. And typically they will trigger a relapse or keep us stuck in a dipping and dabbing state. Glimmers, however, which the phrase was coined by Deb Dana, who was a licensed clinical social worker, in her 2018 book, The Polyvagal Theory in Therapy. She said that glimmers refers to small moments when our biology is in a place of connection or regulation, which cues our nervous system to feel safe or calm. Let me boil that down a little bit and put it in simpler terms. What they're really saying is that, or what Ms. Dana is really saying, is that glimmers are these tiny moments that bring joy or happiness. They can spark feelings of ease or relaxation or safety or connection with other people, and even connection with our surroundings and our situation and circumstances. And they can give us a feeling that, for now, the world is okay. Even if it's just for a fleeting moment, the glimmer happens, and we get that feeling that the world is okay. It's sort of like many of you might have heard the phrase, a glimmer of hope. And, a glimmer of hope is the belief that there's a slight chance that something positive will happen. So I want to differentiate here. So these glimmers are not glimmers of hope. They're true glimmers that we feel the joy and happiness. We feel the ease and relaxation. We feel the safety and connection. And we feel that the world is okay. Not that something positive is going to happen somewhere down the line, but that we feel it right now in the present. So glimmers are huge to keep us in the moment, to keep us in the present. So I think it's important that we know what our glimmers are and how to stay in the present with them. So the first thing I'd want to say to sort of go on this quest to know your glimmers is to seek out your glimmers. Pursue them, try to find them, go on a scavenger hunt of sorts to seek out your glimmers every day. Especially if you can't figure out how to do that, especially when you're feeling bad or you're feeling nervous or anxious or pessimistic or depressed or angry, frustrated, all those negative things. Seek out what are the little things, the little glimmers that take that feeling away and bring you a feeling of ease and contentment or relaxation or satisfaction or whatever it might be. So when you begin to start seeking them out, you'll find that it's easy to gather your glimmers. And by that I mean you start to write them down, journal them, And the best way to do that is to think back to those times when you felt ease, relaxation, safety, connection, or a feeling that the world was okay, that it just sort of happened and you didn't even know why you were feeling good at the moment. Well, if you're seeking them, you'll recognize them, you'll be able to gather them up and journal them. And, whatever picture you have, gather them into a basket, gather them into a file, whatever makes sense to you. And I believe that for me personally, an easy way that I can keep in touch with my glimmers and gather them is to stay in touch with each of my 5 senses, because each of your senses have special glimmers that touch them uniquely. And there are also glimmers that touch several of our senses all at once. There are people who glimmer at the same time as you glimmer and at the same things that you glimmer at. So you can recognize some of your sensory glimmers by observing other people that you hang with and how they react to things. You know how you can be at a sporting event and everybody's cheering at the same time, or listening to a joke and everybody laughs at the same time. You can see the mutual glimmers in your senses. What's it touching at that moment? And for me, as I started really digging into my glimmers a bit more deeply, I thought back to, when did I use the word glimmer in my earlier years in vocabulary? Glimmer's not a word that people tend to have in their normal conversation. And for me, I remember talking about the glimmering effect of the sunshine or the moonshine on the surface of water. And I think of at lakes or dams or rivers or oceans, how it almost looks like lights dancing on the water surface, or diamonds even glittering and glimmering on the water surface. And you know what? As I remembered that, I realized that is a huge glimmer moment for me. When I can see those lights dancing on the surface of a water, wow, that touches multiple senses. It takes away negative feelings and makes me know that the world is okay. So what are some other examples of glimmers for those of you who are saying, okay, how do I find mine now? Well, I could give you 100, but I'll just give you a few here and see how you can relate to some of these, or maybe to get you thinking about others that I didn't mention. For some people, it's petting an animal, or even just seeing a puppy or a kitten, taking a hot shower, or what's popular now, one of those ice baths, or listening to the rain outside your window or the rain on the roof of your house. For some people, it's the smell of fresh cut grass. For others, it's seeing a rainbow, or perhaps a spectacular sunrise or sunset over the mountains or over the ocean. For many people, their glimmers are spending time in nature, and they break it down to smaller things inside that. Listening to the sounds of nature, the bubbling or gurgling of a small creek, or maybe a squirrel scurrying by. For some people who are more urban, window shopping is a glimmer, or walking downtown or out in the CBD. The hustle bustle of city life, the aromas of sidewalk cafes, city lights at night. So there's glimmers all around us. And what I want to encourage each of you, if I've stirred your thinking, and I hope I have, again, write down your 5 senses and see glimmers that touch those. What are the things, the smells that you like to smell? the tastes you like to taste, the sounds you like to hear, all of your senses, and get them involved and start recording your glimmers. And the purpose of recording your glimmers and gathering your glimmers is so you begin to intentionally use them. You make them a tool that keeps you knowing that the world is okay and you're okay in it. And in closing, I'd like to leave you with a quote from Winnie the Pooh. Winnie said, and I quote, "Sometimes the smallest things take up the most room in your heart." Sure, you got that? Sometimes the smallest glimmers can take up the most room in your heart. So I want to encourage you to know your glimmers, seek them out every day, gather them in a journal, sort them by which of your senses they touch, and treasure them in your heart. Thanks for listening to this episode of the A to D from Addict to Disciple podcast. I hope you enjoyed this concept of glimmers. And if it stirred something in you and you want to reach out, you can contact me on my website, www.fromatod.org. You can follow me on Instagram. You can send me an email at davidfromatod@gmail.com. Any way that you want to reach out. And share your glimmers with others. Find friends who have the same glimmers. Tune in Monday for our next episode. And as always, stay safe and stay resilient.